So today I went for the shoot and I woke up pretty early. Actually, I woke up around 4 a.m. and not by myself. I and not even by my cat. I woke up from this horrible sound of helicopters, I believe, running around, and I was so annoyed. It was for like 1 or 2 hours, but in the same time, I was kind of a bit scared and realizing how important this work could be, because my only thought why helicopters running around, it's basically because I guess someone's missing and they trying to find this person, because I started to watch murder podcasts again, and this is what I heard from them. When person is missing, police take helicopters to trying to find a body or detect something, or I don't know. I just kind of criticize myself inside and cause even more stress and more guilty and anxiety for watching again, for starting to watch again these murder podcasts, when on the first place they should be forbidden for the people like me with my level of anxiety, with my level of stress. It should be forbidden. It's like 100% toxic trait. And it's interesting because I started to watch them to soothe my level of stress, to soothe my level of anxiety, to actually give me some energy, some focus at the evening. And eventually it caused even more distress, even more negativity into my life. I just don't have an answer. Just keep living and keep trying to make it work for me out here. um, so I went for the shoot and I did not feel good, like physically. I still feel like kind of sick today. And I was in this, my unfortunately pretty regular state, not pretty regular for, like, I would say half of the year, last half of the year, but through my life. And I always have been using different terms for that state, but recently I found this term that actually says emotionally aloof on the article on the internet, and I think I've never used this one. I've never actually met this one, but this is how I felt 100%. I felt emotionally aloof. And I feel that way, unfortunately, pretty often. And I actually, on a way, I would say last year, of stopping myself from feeling weird about myself, from that, or feeling guilty or ashamed of that. It's definitely not something that fitting to the world or to the society, not something the most acceptable or like normal. But I realized it's not just a trauma response, it's not just stress or some of my like personal traits. It's actually part of big part of my personality. Like, it's not just some weird behavior that I want to fix, or some of the weird behavior that indicates me that I need to change something inside of myself, that I need to adjust something. It's actually a huge part of my personality. And I would say last 1 2 years, I just realized that. I just started to realize that, process that, accept that, and looking for a way to make it work for me, to make it work on me, instead of the always fight it as my obstacle. Because this is what I felt through my life. I always was daydreamer. I always was dissociating a lot, like since I was a child, since I was like 5 years old. Remember my first memories, like teachers always were telling me or about me to my parents, like, oh, she's daydreaming a lot, she's dissociating a lot, she's like staring in the mirror, like writing something like not relevant to actual education in her like notebook. And I felt pretty often caught up in my thoughts, in a big companies or alone. I always felt like I go a lot inside of myself, inside of my thoughts. And also I've been many times caught up, even like with my classmates when they were like, I don't know, next to, I would say like across the street, like literally screaming my name, like, hey, Anita. But I were so much caught up in talking to myself or dissociating in my fantasies that in my thoughts, that I literally did not hear them. So when I realize it's who am I, it's a big part of my personality, not just something that is wrong with me, even though it's not really fitting perfectly. It's not something that appreciated in society. It's something that fits in a like social norms, in a level of success, in a some traditional path. Like it's not something that easily understand around people or acceptable. I admitted that this is not my minus. This is just, it's not my minus, it's not my plus, right? It's just a big part of my personality, and it's not very common. And this is just something that I should make work on me, should make myself live comfortable with that. So today, when I arrived on the shoot, basically, I feel that overly at work, at life, that I'm more like introverted and not that much of interested in people, at least in a social connection, like actual talking to them, especially if it's like big group of people or like more than like 1-2 people, where for sure conversation will be more just for fun and more like small talk rather than something like meaningful, because it might be inappropriate or like a little bit like too much, too heavy and stuff like that. It's really hard for me to connect, not just because I cannot. I can pretend, and I'm really good in that, and I can pretend be like the laughiest, funniest person in a room when I want, when I have a certain goal or I just feel that way, which is like really rare. Most of the time I just feel uncomfortable to kind of betray myself and fit in, I guess the right word for that. Like I feel I don't want to fit in. Like if I'm not interested or in a situation, in person, in people, don't feel that way, I don't feel and resist a pressure to fit in, like to have this pressure that I have to fit in or whatever. I just basically just abound this feeling, abound this thought, and just being allowing myself to just like be inside of myself or whatever. And basically how happening is that some of the people are like more extroverted, so they're more interesting either like in me, either in just like talking, in just having fun, or they just interesting in interacting with somebody like me. And this is how it's basically happening. Somebody asking me, I answer. Somebody asking me, I answer. I can ask something back, but basically someone else starts interaction, especially because like on set I mostly work like as like commercial actors and models, so I'm an employee, and I kind of do feel that someone who in charge not have to, but basically behave more assertive, a little bit more, maybe the different word, I forgot, more kind of acting like first, I would say, because this is like their shoot or something like that. And today it was kind of like not the opposite. It was like I was inside of myself and team was very small, just like a few people, and they were kind of by themselves. And in some certain situations, I feel it's the most comfortable. But today, for some reason, I felt a little bit uncomfortable. And to be totally honest, I wasn't even feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable. And I have to say, those people didn't really give me any like weird vibes, bad vibes. I started slowly obsessing myself about if I give them bad vibes, which is basically I really don't care. But because they wasn't that much of interested in me, or they wasn't much of interested in having conversation with me, or like being I don't know, outgoing or interested in me, even like on a surface level. Again, rather they interested in really in me, or they interested just in conversation, or interested in speaking out loud to somebody their own interests, you know, it's never happened. They were by themselves, I was by myself, and that was really interesting for me to observe my own thoughts, my own worries about that. It was interesting and funny at the same time because I started really, really like obsessed. I started to like think inside of myself. Maybe obsessed is too big word, I would say, but definitely concerned and worried on some point, like why they do not want to interact with me, which is like basically happening. um, so this made me realize, first of all, that I do want attention. Because basically, I play to other people and play to myself too. I kind of like tricking myself, and somebody become a little bit like maybe too assertive with me, and I kind of resisted a little bit. I kind of like, ooh, like I like kind of, you know, give a little signs like I like to be left alone. I not the person who like talk a lot, or like telling like my life story to somebody else, or listening someone else's life story, or talking about like cute dogs and Christmas gifts and stuff like that. But in the same time, maybe it was a certain moment because I didn't feel maybe good and wanted somebody to ask me. Maybe I wanted to tell somebody, today I don't feel good, but nobody asked me, as usually it happening. And today I kind of felt that I would love to have attention, but I'm not the type of person who just like come up to somebody and started, talking about myself or about my feelings or problems and stuff like that. And I realized, so I actually do like attention, and I do started maybe to expecting for somebody else, or I always have been expecting it from somebody more extroverted. And I actually also already for a while were realizing that I expecting always people be more extroverted than me, because this is what usually happening. This is what especially when I'm around extroverts. um, I also realized that around introverts I feel the most extroverted, and around extroverts and opposite I feel like the most introverted person in the room. um, And I realized also that extroverts always need introverts. Like I, at least I need them. Like my friends actually extroverts, and I think I get along the most with the extroverts. Like this need from outside for me, that somebody else gave me their request, ask me a question, do you want this, do you want that, like how are you, and do you like, I just feel the need that somebody from the outside ask me a request, even like with the job. Like I realize that I really do feel comfortable when somebody just give me a request asking me. Sorry, I'm just like started running thoughts in like right in the middle. And Yeah, I like answering. Like, I feel the most comfortable. I can say yes, I can say no, I can say I don't know, but I always have been thinking about me all my life that I'm pretty assertive person, but it's turned out I'm not. I'm naturally feel the most comfortable in a relationship, in relationships where I have to kind of like answering on someone else request, on someone else question, because it's also kind of get me out of my head when I'm, caught up in my thoughts. Even right now, it's a little bit started to hard for me to do this video because I would say maybe 4 minutes ago I started my thinking process and it just like stuck there, and it's really really hard right now to get out. But yeah, my need, my comfort is have the person around me who are taking me out of my head. um Now I'm thinking about how this video actually should finish because I do not know. Yeah, that was just really interesting. I also think it was kind of a little bit like they gave me today, not like they were planning it or something, but I kind of tasted today some of my own medicine, which is like says on English, right? Where people were like, okay, I mean, I don't know what they think. They maybe didn't think anything. They were just like, about they like friends. I realized, and they were talking about their own stuff. But it's interesting how when I did not receive what I expected, I started being, I started to feel insecure, started to feel worried that something wrong with me, even though nothing wrong was going on. It just was my own expectations that I didn't meet. That the situation, didn't meet or whatever. Yeah, and it's interesting that I did not meet my expectations and I started worrying about my own self. I think there is two ways. I could say something to myself like, okay, next time if you want to talk, you should come up yourself and say something. But the thing is, I sometimes, how I said, physically, like I'm not ready. I feel like I'm not physically, when I'm saying physically, like on a energy level, I'm not ready to get out from my head without request and started to say something. Like I just, it's kind of like this video right now. I started pretty confident, but I don't know where it's going. So same, I feel like I can start to say something, but what if I forgot in the middle where I'm going? It happens. Um, but no, I think this video and my thought and my inner conversation today should finish like nothing wrong with me. I'm on a way of accepting who am I and what is work for me and how make it work for me and how to embrace in a best possible, most profitable, most amazing, satisfying way of who I am. In the same time, being true to myself, not expecting anything from anybody, not expecting anything from me, and never think anything bad about others, anything bad about myself. Don't get insecure or worried that something wrong with me. Just accept the things as they are. Answer on requests only because this is how I feel comfortable. And if I want to ask something myself or say something myself, I either should create the situation where I will be asked. God, I'm such a freak. I do realize that. Okay, maybe, God, I need to journal about that. And after I will be having an answer. I don't know. I just like feel really weird today. I'm really inside of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really interested in them. I just like show up and I felt like I will be by myself as always, and people start running and come up. This is always just because they're nice people and outgoing people and started to asking me and make conversations with me, and I'll just be sitting there like, yeah, like whatever. But today, because nobody did this, I kind of felt lonely, and I'm like, okay, now time is up. I'm waiting somebody come up to me and start asking me about Christmas or about any other stuff. Yeah, kind of have a regret of not having a small talk with myself. I know, not with myself, with the other people. And I already know how I'm gonna save this day. I'm going to throw away trash in maybe like 20 minutes, and I meet a neighbor and I ask them how's their dog is doing. Yeah, I think this is how I'm gonna save this day.